Of business is an urgent question, and I call Sarah Boyack.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to Lothian buses stopping its services at 7:30 p.m. on the 17th of March in response to reported incidents where buses have been attacked and staff endangered.
Cabinet Secretary Michael Matheson.
Officer, I deplore attacks in recent weeks on bus services in Edinburgh, which has resulted in 2 bus drivers so far suffering injuries and requiring hospital attention. Attacks on key workers are totally unacceptable. They threaten the essential services on which communities rely. Everyone has the right to be safe and to feel safe in their community. Police Scotland and local authorities lead on interventions to tackle antisocial behaviour, and I understand that extra police officers have been deployed. Lothian buses are also working closely with Police Scotland, unions and councils to tackle the issue and to keep their staff safe and passengers safe. Lothian buses advise that services are planned to operate as normal tonight, but will be withdrawn on a locality basis if similar incidents are witnessed. And I call on communities to work with Police Scotland to assist them in tackling this antisocial behaviour.
Sarah Boyack.
Can I thank the Cabinet Secretary for his answer? Cabinet Secretary, the decision to stop services wasn't just after one incident, as you've said. We have had a pattern of incidents over the last few weeks that has seen buses targeted, and drivers are increasingly worried about their safety. And the worry is that we're seeing increased copycat and escalating threats, which are utterly unacceptable. So what has gone wrong with action to stop the antisocial behaviour, which is escalating to this appalling level in our capital city?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, I do agree that no one should go to their workplace and be subject to antisocial behaviour of this nature, whether you're a bus driver or whether it's in your own community or whether you own a shop. And any form of antisocial behaviour corrodes the very fabric of our local communities and leads to people feeling unsafe. And this type of behaviour, which has been witnessed in different parts of Edinburgh, is unacceptable. That's why it's critical there's early intervention from those services that can help to work with young people to divert them away from this type of activity, but also the role that Police Scotland have in tackling these issues. In particular, looking at whether further enforcement action is necessary in order to deal with this issue. And that's why I would encourage anyone who has information or can assist Police Scotland in dealing with this issue of antisocial behaviour, that they work with them and provide that information to support them in taking action to protect anyone from unacceptable levels of antisocial behaviour.
Sarah Boyack.
Can I welcome that suggestion that people do talk to those people in our communities? Cabinet Secretary, we need our buses, but they do need to be safe. And the comments you've made about Police Scotland and youth services are important going forward. But what can happen now in terms of support from the Scottish Government to help eradicate this violence? Because it's unacceptable, and key workers and NHS staff need our buses, but they need to be safe buses.
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, I agree with Sarah Boyack, and it's important that the appropriate justice bodies take the action that's necessary, and also the child welfare organisations that can help to tackle the issue of antisocial behaviour. There are a number of different mechanisms that can be used by different agencies, whether it be enforcement action through antisocial behaviour orders or issuing fixed penalty notices, or, as I say, through the actions of child support organisations through early intervention. But a concerted effort and targeted approach to dealing with this type of antisocial behaviour is critical, not just because of the impact it's had on buses, because I suspect if there's individuals that are targeting buses, they'll be targeting other areas of the community as well, whether it be people's property or local shops. And that's why it's important that communities work collectively together to tackle and stamp out problems associated with antisocial behaviour.
I have 3 supplementary questions. Gordon MacDonald, to be followed by Miles Brick.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. As a former employee of Lothian buses, I utterly condemn the totally unacceptable and antisocial violent behaviour that endangered drivers and passengers. The company has invested substantial sums of money over the years in radios, CCTV and bandit screens in order to protect drivers in all their vehicles. And will the Cabinet Secretary join with me in thanking my former colleagues at Lothian Buses, Police Scotland and Edinburgh Council in finding a partnership working solution that allows evening services to recommence tonight to ensure that key workers, including NHS employees, can still get to their work safely.
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, yes, of course I would support the comments that have been made by my colleague Mr MacDonald, and he rightly points out the need for agencies to work in partnership to tackle the issue of antisocial behaviour. I've got no doubt that Police Scotland will be engaging on an ongoing basis with Lothian Bus and others to tackle this particular issue, but it is important that everyone who can play their part in dealing with the issue of antisocial behaviour does so, and I've got no doubt that Police Scotland will want to play their part in helping to support Lothian Buses in making sure their staff are protected from this type of behaviour.
Miles Briggs, to be followed by Alex Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. These incidents have shocked the local community here in Edinburgh, and no one should have to go to their work and face such shameless and senseless attacks. Can I ask the Minister, given some of the success previously which the Police Scotland have had around attacks with fireworks around Bonfire Night, whether or not the Scottish Government and Police Scotland will look to establish an antisocial behaviour task force with Lothian Buses, with the drivers, to make sure that we don't just address this incident, but we make sure this unacceptable behaviour never happens again?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, I'm sure we all want to find a long-term solution to this particular problem that's been experienced in parts of Edinburgh around antisocial behaviour. What I will do is I'll ask my colleagues in Justice to pick up on his suggestion around the idea of a task force to try and tackle this issue, given that they lead on matters relating to antisocial behaviour, to see if that's a mechanism that could be used to try to help to support and deal with this issue.
Alex Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I also echo the recognition of bus drivers as key workers and heroes in this pandemic? They've worked under constant threat of infection. They don't need to work under threat of abuse. This started with a moratorium on evening services in the Clermiston area of my constituency, given a recent spate of antisocial behaviour of young people travelling from all over the city to the Drumby Drive bus terminus. Can I ask the Cabinet Secretary what particular discussions he is having with ministerial colleagues, particularly the Cabinet Secretary for Justice and the Minister who has a responsibility for young people and youth work, to talk about the kind of diversionary supportive schemes that can be put in place given COVID-19 restrictions and the need to divert these young people from these terrible acts?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, the issues behind antisocial behaviour, Presiding Officer, are very often complex and multifaceted, and a number of different actions need to be taken in order to deal with them. It cannot sit with just Police Scotland itself. It also has to involve those who work in child welfare matters as well, to try and divert young people away from this type of behaviour, something which I'm no doubt that Alex Cole-Hamilton has knowledge of, given his previous experience with Aberdare Trust and the work that they carry out with young people. What I would say is that it is important that the agencies that do have a lead role in this are very visible and proactive in dealing with the issue. And in relation to his very specific point around my colleague, the Cabinet Secretary for Justice, I'll ensure that his comments are brought to his attention, and I'll ask him to respond specifically to the points that he's raised in his engagements with Police Scotland.
Thank you very much. That concludes the urgent questions. Apologies to members who wished to ask further questions. However, as members will be aware, we are running substantially behind time already in this afternoon's business, and we will move on in a moment to the next item of business.